I've seen people who are in families where probably nothing they were ever told was true. Like it was never just true. It was always twisted and bent in some way by whoever was talking to them for the purposes of that person. Power or domination or positive illusion or delusion or something. Like all the communication within the family was motivated. I don't think, in my experience, apart from terrible luck, because you can get cancer, diabetes, or any number of awful things. In my experience, apart from the tragedies of life, there is nothing that hurts people more than deception. Lies do people in. And that's an existentialist claim.
Remember when Bryan Kohberger's arrest affidavit was released and listed 2 witnesses at the scene of the crime, initialed DM and BF? If you were with me from the beginning while I was covering this case, I remember we were trying to figure out who are these 2 surviving roommates, initialed DM and BF. My initial thoughts were, Kohberger forgot about this witness. I'm sure she will be a key witness in this case to identify the suspect. Immediately, a day after, I started to think of questions such as, why didn't they call 911 right away? Did they see anyone else? Why weren't they attacked? Were they asleep? And many more. We figured out DM and BF were the surviving roommates, Dylan and Bethany, but we had very little information on them or their sorority status. Eventually, as reports came out, we heard some conflicting stories about Dylan's recollection of events on the night of the murders. First, we heard they were sleeping.
Police believe the surviving roommates likely slept through the murders.
Then, we heard they were awake.
That one of those roommates did not simply sleep through this ordeal, but actually saw the killer potentially inside of her home.
Then, we heard one of the roommates actually passed out while on the phone with 911.
You've got to remember these 2 girls were so upset that when they went outside after seeing this, it wasn't very legible. They couldn't quite understand what the girls were seeing. He's referring to the 911 operator trying to make sense of what these 2 girls are saying over the phone, but he's saying that they ran outside having seen something horrible, and then he goes on to say one passed out and the other one was hyperventilating, that the message wasn't clear enough for the operator. This makes a lot more sense, that maybe those girls did see part of or some of the bloodbath in the morning and tried to call and could not get the message out to the operator. And one of them was hyperventilating and the other is passing out. And then they just say, hey, we got an unconscious person.
And many other stories. Stories. And so, it continues. According to a Daily Mail news article, Dylan's stepmom stated that Dylan was suffering from survivor's guilt. Which, if you don't know, survivor's guilt is a mental condition that occurs when a person believes they have done something wrong by surviving a traumatic event when others did not. She also stated that due to her survivor's guilt, it caused her to leave Moscow, Idaho, and switch to a different university. Now, if you don't remember Dylan's dad, Brent Mortensen, he was the one who allegedly sent this text to Dylan stating, just a friendly reminder of who is going to show up at the boy's door who messes with one of my daughters. Now, according to a Daily Mail news article, Brent told private investigator and author Jay Appleman that Dylan was isolating herself and playing video games to deal with the severe stress.
One of the first things that happened when Dylan Mortensen came home was the several paparazzi were stalking her in Boise. Boise, we might have 1 million people here, but we're certainly not used to paparazzi lining our streets out front of our homes.
I find it interesting that they are trying to paint Dylan as this public figure that can't leave her home without paparazzi harassing her. But in the same note, he's publishing a book based on the murders, which would only attract more clout and monetary gain.
But the thing I think that stood out to me the most is that you were able to talk with Dylan Mortensen's father.
I was able to pull up to his house. He answered the door. I told him I was an Idaho guy researching this book. And I don't know if I caught him on the right day or what, but he hadn't spoken to anybody else. He had turned down the New York Times and, all kinds of people. And he let me into his house and we sat at his dining room table for a good 30 minutes.
Which caused me to think, why did Dylan's dad refuse to talk to reporters, but talk to an author out of all people? Also, we rarely see any pictures of Dylan. So are there really any paparazzi photos of Dylan, or is this all made up? It seems like everyone is using the attention to gain something besides true justice.
I had a paparazzi guy tell me on the phone, I could get you a lot of money for a photo of her. And that's not how we work in Idaho.
I mean, this isn't a celebrity. She's not Taylor Swift. She is a victim of a horrendous crime.
The author stated that paparazzi offered him money to get pictures of Dylan, and he refused. Yet, these pictures were released of what appears to be Dylan running, but then later Dylan's dad stated it wasn't Dylan in the picture, but one of his younger daughters. So who set up the paparazzi to take those pictures?
And what happened was a major international magazine posted a picture that said Dylan Mortensen on her way to Starbucks, and she's wearing running shorts and whatever they said. They described her clothing as if she were, some movie star of some sort. It turns out, Brent Mortensen told me that was actually not Dylan in that magazine that had splattered the picture all around, but her one of Brent Mortensen's other daughters, a 17-year-old who had nothing to do with this case, didn't live. And Dylan herself has retreated from the public eye. Very few people see her out and around. She is from what I've been told, she is in trauma therapy of sorts. She's getting help from the spiritual community. She is isolating herself, but she is stepping out a little bit at a time. I've been told from mutual friends that she is gaming online with peers in group gaming sessions.
Later, it was revealed that while Dylan was supposed to be hiding indoors, suffering survivor's guilt, and transferring schools, she was recently spotted on a friend's social media account in a costume partying on Halloween. She was also seen joining the same sorority that Xana and Maddie was a part of, Pi Beta Phi. This was just weeks after her family stated she was feeling survivor's guilt. This was also right around the 1-year anniversary of the Idaho murders. So how does this tie into the case? Dylan's statements from her or on her behalf has been shown to be inconsistent with time. How can we ever know what happened on the night of the murders? Now, I'm not sure if this is true, but there's an alleged Facebook post from Dylan's account right after the unalivings. She allegedly went on Facebook and wrote all of this stuff that has since been wiped off the internet. It states, well, first off, we heard Xana and Ethan come home first and talk to him. They were both drunk, and that's when we went to bed. We live on the 3rd floor and always lock our doors to prevent people from stumbling into our rooms. We're used to noise because it's a party house. We were up late that night and didn't come downstairs until noon when the cops came to investigate. We came downstairs and we saw the bodies bound and gagged and blood everywhere. So much blood, we didn't make the phone call. We don't know who did. Now, if that's the case, why is Dylan's stepmother stating that Dylan woke up to the massacre when it was clearly stated that she was awake during the massacre and possibly texting? Now, I started to remember Maddie's last video posted on her TikTok account. Her last post consisted of a Halloween party showing Dylan in her Halloween costume. In that clip, there's an audio attached to it that says some shocking things. A few of those are, "You liar, you manipulator. What do you think this means? Is this just a random audio, or do you think it means something else? Did the roommates know something about Dylan that we don't know? Is Dylan a master manipulator? Or is she telling the truth and we are just overthinking it? Let me know in the comments below. It's Casper West here, signing out.